This is the professor. To all of you Eminifx investors, I want to inform you that Eddie Alexson has been sentenced by Judge Cornyn to 9 years in prison, 108 months. There were a lot of people in the courtroom, some of them Eminifx investors, who came to speak certainly against leniency for Eddie Alexson. I know some of you may be disappointed. Some of you may be upset because you think that Eddie Alexson deserves many more years in prison. But the justice system has spoken. The judge has made his ruling. And as far as Eddie Alexson is concerned, as far as we should be concerned, this is the end. Eddie Alexson will be incarcerated at least for the next 7.5 years. He will not serve the entire 9 years because under the federal rule, you can only serve 85% of your sentence. So we know he will serve about 7.5 years. So happy or not happy, this is where we are. I think now we ought to focus on two things. One is to focus on the receiver and trying to get hoping to get as much money as you can from your initial investment. The second certainly is to focus on the lawsuit, because like the prosecutor said, this was a massive fraud, and the fraud became massive because of the assistance of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have 4 pastors who were very instrumental in making sure that this fraud became a success. One of them was Pastor John Edward Maisonneuve, who was a leader in the Philadelphia Allegheny East Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have Pastor Montpremier of Florida, who was also a leader in the Southeastern Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have Pastor William Jean-Charles, certainly the same in Texas. He was a leader who not only was just a pastor of a church, but he was part of the conference in Texas and oversaw a number of churches whose pastors he convinced to join Eminifx. We also have Pastor Smith Olivier. Olivier is the pastor of the church where this fraud, this massive Ponzi scheme started. And this is the church where Eddie Alexson is a parishioner. And certainly Pastor Olivier was not just the pastor of that church, but he's also a leader in the Greater New York Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So the conference, it wasn't just one conference. It was many conferences of the Seventh-day Adventist Church who actually were engaged in this Ponzi scheme. It is sad that Eddie Alexson is the only person going to prison, though I don't regret it, though I don't feel bad for Eddie Alexson going to prison, but Eddie Alexson should not be the only person going to prison. Those pastors should have been arrested and prosecuted because they were very much member of the conspiracy, member of the Ponzi scheme, and they were the backbones which make this possible. Eddie Alexson, I don't care how much he was loved in the community or in the Adventist church community, I don't care. He would have never been able to raise $250 to $300 million from almost 62,000 people by himself. He had people who would help him, people who were around him, people who basically was helping him. So the question becomes, what are we going to do with those pastors in the Adventist church? And I'm happy that many of you have joined the class action lawsuit, and more of you should join the class action lawsuit, because now that Eddie Alexson is going to prison for many years, now we ought to focus our attention on the Adventist church and the people who actually helped Eddie commit this massive fraud. So for some of you who have been devastated by this financial fraud, I apologize to you. I don't know what else to tell you. I have done what I could have done in terms of keeping this case alive. And if this case is alive today, if people know about this case it was partly because of the work that I have done from the beginning in terms of keeping people abreast of what's going on. So I will certainly continue to do that, but I wanted to let you know that the first part of the case is over. AD will be going to prison today, and that should give us some kind of solace, knowing that at least he's paying a small price. A small price. It should have been a bigger price, but a small price for the crime he committed against the Haitian community. This is the professor. God bless you all.